Hello and welcome. Since this episode, the EOC update has come, so, it has its pros and cons, but the upside is that since it's a new combat system, the people who are new to this combat system won't know what to do exactly. So the first thing I took advantage of this was in the wilderness. So I chose dual wielding because I don't actually have a chaotic maul on this account yet, and with the enhanced Excalibur being an offhand version of a whip, it makes it a lot cheaper for an offhand item. But a severe disadvantage I'm having on this account is I don't have turmoil yet, so it's a massive disadvantage because turmoil drains my stats as well. Although I'm kind of close, I'm not too far away. I could probably afford 95 prayer, so I'm just kind of saving it up so I don't spend my entire bank on that. For my ultimate, with dual wielding, I had to choose between using Frenzy or Massacre. Frenzy is it's like Frenzy does damage over time, but if they just survive the first few hits, they could probably out-heal it. But with Massacre, it's like, first you get a really strong attack in, and then it bleeds for 5 hits, with about like 1,000 each, but they could probably just free them out of that ultimate if they have it. So, it has its pros and cons. But since the update, they've pretty much nerfed and changed a lot of abilities, which is one of the reasons I didn't make a video for a while, because they kept changing things so frequently. I didn't want to spend like 12 hours recording something, editing, and then publishing the video just for it to get patched like the next day. So for PKing, it wasn't too difficult on the first few days. There were actually a lot of people who didn't know what to do. I was hoping to get some people who didn't realize that you were automatically skulled when you entered the wildy. Hoping for people who still believed that there was 3 enemy or 4 enemy, but didn't actually see many of these people during the first few days. After the first few days, people kind of started to realize that you actually need to know certain things to PK. So there were fewer and fewer peoples. I guess you could say, new people to this kind of combat system. So it kind of became more difficult to find fights and win fights since the average person actually knows what to do. So in total, I actually did make a few mills on the first couple of days. I lost a few clips where I forgot to export it. I died about 3 times in total, 3 or 4 times, and for like about somewhere between 15 and 20 kills those were just ruined kills, so it wasn't that much. And with the supply cost, I probably only profited like maybe 2 mil from this. So I used to actually really enjoy PKing, but all my friends who actually PK'd back in Bounty Hunter Crater, they don't really do much PKing anymore, and when we do go PKing, it's quite difficult to find people. And I really do not see why Jagex decided to let players choose between single and multi-combat. So now it's possible for me to just go up to Chaos Elemental. Well, not that you would like camp Chaos Elemental because it's terrible money. But I could just go up there without being bothered by people, because I could just choose it to be single way combat. And if anybody were to pass by, I could just take them on whoever decides to come and bother me. So it's like the wilderness isn't even that dangerous anymore if you know how to fend for yourself 1v1. Now the same goes for revs. This makes it kind of easier for me to start going revs. Like, I've never ever been there before. I've never gotten an item. I haven't killed many of them. Mostly because from what I hear, the drops are really rare, and it's probably not even good money, but it's probably good if don't have like the requirements to do. Well, actually, barrows is actually a pretty low requirement. So, I don't know, like, I guess revs is okay if you know, only if you know how to PK and fend for yourself when people come to PK you. Especially if you bring Tribrid and know how to switch between 3 different styles, so that when people come to bother you, they probably won't have, they probably at the most have 2 styles. And if you have all 3 styles, you're pretty much good. Just because, just like mages, they have, apparently melees can't beat them anymore because they have really high melee defense, but really bad range defense. After I got bored with doing PK, I went and decided to go to Tormented Demons because I heard of a rumor that they dropped dragon limbs, and this was back when the EOC was first released, so by now we pretty much confirmed that they do drop dragon limbs. So a friend of mine had shown me a picture of a JMod saying that he thinks that dragon crossbow limbs are dropped from Tormented Demons. So I thought, why not go try and maybe get it, because it's a new item, so maybe people will pay high for it. So I went to TD's. You still have to use your Dark Light to take down the shield. It's a bit more weird now since you get a penalty when switching styles, but you still have to switch styles since the TD's prayer is 100% effective. So if it's praying melee, you cannot deal damage to it in melee. But it's still very much like it was before. You have your combat familiar attack one style and you use a different style. So my trick to this was, since you get a penalty for switching styles, I have my Moss Titan at the time combined with my Dreadnought, who both do melee damage. They'll keep it praying melee because they do melee damage. Since it was kind of bugged that it was still on the old system where if you did about 300 damage, it would just switch rather than scaling up to whatever the damage is now. And while my Dreadnought and Moss Titan do that, I'll just mage and range it. So the weakness of the TDs, it kind of varied. Like some were weak to Fire Surge, some were weak to bolts, but the weakness just depended on which spawn it was. So I decided to, I'm not sure exactly why I decided for this, but at the time I decided to use a Polypore Staff and a hand cannon. It's not the best method, but it's pretty cheap. Although at the time I thought that if you use abilities with a spell selected, it will use more runes, but apparently that's not the case. If you're using abilities while using any form of ammunition, it won't actually use it. So if you're ranging with abilities, you don't actually use bolts. If you're maging with abilities, you don't actually use runes. It's kind of weird, and it's still that way now. You don't need as much like bolts or runes anymore. So those are pretty much like you could do a whole kill with just maybe 2 bolts. One to actually hit the target, so you target the monster, and then the rest is just abilities. But anyway, so I decided to use a Polypore and a hand cannon. Polypore was nice and cheap. A hand cannon because it was pretty strong, or ish. I think it was a strong alternative at the time. It wasn't that great, but it was better than using bolts, because if you use bolts with like a Royal Crossbow, you don't actually get damage from your weapon, and even if you're using an offhand crossbow, you still do the same damage as if you're using a one-handed crossbow, like without the offhand. So I actually did a video about this quite a while ago. Like when the EOC first came out, I was going for like 1,000 TDs kill, and I got about 551 trying to get that one dragon limb piece, and I never got it. But what I did get was a ton of dragon claws. And the thing about the Dragon Claws is it's pretty much useless now, because although it does give melee crit to the weapon, it's not that great, since it's like, okay, 1%. That's not going to do much. But it just sucks now because, it's meant to suck because it's level 60 equipment. It's not supposed to be good. I don't even know if there's anything good about TDs anymore, because the drops aren't, well, they shouldn't be worth much because it's all level 60 equipment. You have the Dragon Plate. That's level 60. Although, it's the Dragon Plate, so it has some kind of value that you could wear it, and I guess it's pricey or something. But Dragon Claws, they suck. The Dragon Crossbow, I'm not sure if it's still untradeable, if that was a bug or not, but that's still level 60 equipment. You could make the two-handed crossbow, or just like an offhand, or the primary hand. And that's still level 60 equipment, so there's nothing good from TDs anymore, except that you do get a lot of good charms from them, because around this time, this was before the Festive Aura thing, which I'll do later, but I gathered like a ton of charms from here. And over the next few episodes, I will be leveling up my summoning, because with the Festive Aura, that's like 50k summoning XP per day. Although I didn't get every single day done because, it's like the holidays. It was during exam period, so I got as much done as I could. So while recording for these TD skills, I actually used there was a point where I really wanted that Dragon Limb, because I went like 500 kills without getting one. So I started using a lot of Dreadnoughts. I tried to use it as often as I could. Although Dreadnoughts now, they're not as useful as before, because before it could hit like a 500, and that was pretty much as good as one of your auto attacks. But now it's not as good because they haven't scaled up the damage. I'm not sure if they plan to or not. Also, getting the kills, like you gotta get 5 kills in the Dominion Tower to get 100 Dreadnoughts, and that takes longer than before. I kind of wish I saved up a bit pre-EOC so that I could kill Sigmund fast. The Kendall, it doesn't take that long, but it still takes longer than it was before, because before you just one hit claw spec it and you're done. But in some of the footage here, you can see that they've kind of changed poison around. Poison doesn't last like over a minute and slowly do less damage over time. Instead, it does it more in a concentrated area where it'll poison you and then deal damage to you in larger numbers and just expire faster. Another thing about TDs is I got a Dragon Defender like pre-EOC just so that I could get that better hit with Dark Light, but now it's just like it doesn't even give accuracy. Or does it? No, it doesn't. So it's like I'm glad I only got one Dragon Defender because yeah, pretty much at the time I pretty much figured that it's not gonna be good in the EOC because if everything is gonna be tiered, then it's like a level 70 offhand would be better than a defender. Unless, well, a defender gives some kind of life point boost, but you kind of want to focus on either full offense or just defensive with a shield. So for a while, I think early on during the series, that was like, wow, I think that was actually like 8 months ago. This series should pick up like how much I make per episode. It should pick up over the next few episodes. But since the beginning and still now, a very cheap smithing XP method is gold bars. It's really not good XP per hour, but it is extremely cheap. So if you have time to just AFK but not focus, this is, I guess, good. So I've been smithing gold bars since, like, I don't show it because why would you show yourself smithing gold bars in an episode? But I've been doing this for smithing XP as well as other things such as the Artisan's Workshop when I got the bonus XP from completing the Doric's quest. And after about 8 months of this series, I finally got 99 smithing. Although at the start I was already semi-close already. I believe I was 70 or 80-ish. And with so many XP being given out nowadays, it's really not that hard to level up your skills anymore. Especially with quests, doing task systems for XP lamps, stuff like that. So after buying the cape, it actually has decent stats. It's a good hybrid between all three. Well, I guess that would be Tribird. Although critical bonus is just a small amount and doesn't really make that big of a difference, but it is there. It's better than like a Obby Cape. So after taking that short skilling break, I went back to TDs, determined to get my Dragon Limb. So my preferred spot is here to the southwest. I usually do it here because you can isolate a single spawn and survive on regenerate alone. I personally never like killing multiple TDs at the same time because if you messed up on a single lure, then you spend like the next 2 kills trying to fix it. And usually I do TDs without food, so like here, I have a Moss Titan here to melee once since one auto attack is enough to make it change prayers. So I prefer this spot down here over the spot to the north. So the previous clips earlier in this episode were my early clips when I was just getting back to TDs in the EOC. So I have a few sub 1 minute kills here and there, but for most of my kills I only recorded the ending because just in case I get a decent drop and just so I don't have to record the first entire kill before it. Now, at the time, I didn't realize how bad magic was in the EOC, mostly because of the flaws of using anything that isn't a two-handed weapon is pretty much bad. Because, like, for magic, you have a spell. Your damage is completely based on the spell, so regardless of what kind of wand or staff you have, even if it's a two-handed staff, there is no damage modifier. So, you do the same damage with a wand than a staff. They could fix this by adding damage onto staffs, just like how Royal Crossbow has damage on it, just like how every melee weapon has melee damage on it. But until they do, all wands and staffs are pretty much useless except for its accuracy. So even now I prefer melee and range over magic, even if they're weak to magic. Because for bosses, it only offers a slight accuracy boost. It hardly makes a difference and doesn't make up for the major loss in damage. So basically, without a given boss or situation, a Royal Crossbow and Chaotic Maul would be a very good weapon choice. So as for other drops, I got a random Dragon Dagger. This Dragon Claw drop here, I tried to record it before it died, but it was a bit too late. Apparently my recording software wasn't open at the time. But I got it, it's on my A-log. Then I got another Dragon Shard piece. So at this point I'm at around 500-ish kills, and by the end I kept most of it in my bank. Got around 4 pairs of declaws, 2 shards, a bunch of diamonds and gems. 570 chrisms isn't too bad, bunch of alchable rune items. But I don't bring high alch because I kind of need the extra 2 prayer pot slots because, well, I go through prayer kind of quick. So when this was recorded, claws were still useless. They're useless because they only offer critical hit bonus, but as level 60 equipment, so as level 60 weapons, it's not that great compared to level 80 or level 70 weapons. So instead of selling them, I decided to keep them, and they would just serve as a souvenir of that time I went 551 tormented demon kills without a dragon limb. And all I got were 4 claws, 2 shards, and a bunch of diamonds. Which actually, by the time I finished editing this video, they already announced that they're going to make claws more useful. But from the sound of it, it's still going to be useless like now because it doesn't cost as much tokens as a real chaotic does. So just because it costs less means it's probably going to do less damage. I will have sold the claws by the next episode, so I won't count that towards the money made in this episode. It will count towards the next episode when I actually sell them. So while I was doing TDs, going a whole 500 kills without a dragon limb, I did not believe that the tormented demons actually dropped the limbs. Then my friend showed me this pick here, and he gets a dragon limb from TDs. Then a couple days later he shows me this pick, and like really, 551 kills without a dragon limb, and my friend gets it in probably half the kills that I did. So after deciding to take a break from tormented demons because, well, my friend got 2D limbs, I got nothing about like several hours of work, I decided to go finish my 99 mining, which is a lot easier now in the EOC since you can just use your hotbar to drop a bunch of ores at the same time. Then there's also that new joining world with people in the same chat thing that makes mining even better now, so that you can just stay in one spawn location, and then if that one goes, there's like a whole friends chat for it. You just, I don't know how it works, but I guess you just join another world that has it open. But by the time that actually came out, I already got 99 mining here. Now that the EOC has been out for quite a while, there are a few weapons to take advantage of. Earlier I said I was going to say it in the next episode, but apparently I got it done in this episode. So first thing I had to do was finish the Songs of the Deaf quest. The quest itself isn't bad, good graphics, decent puzzle, not much though, but for the warm-up quest to the KBD that was hyped up so high, it didn't live up to the hype. But this is not the first time I did the KBD on this account. I believe it was, I think I did the KBD on the second episode. I visited the KBD just to try it out. And I think it was like, you get maybe a 25% or 30% damage reduction for completing the quest. But I only killed her earlier in that second episode to prove that you could do it with really low level gear. But that was pre-EOC. In EOC, it still needs to be buffed. The QB is extremely easy and probably decent cash considering the weapons are, well, the Royal Crossbow is extremely good. So to access the QB, you need to visit the lair. There's no quest requirement. But to make the Royal Crossbow, you need to have the quest completed, which is why I'm doing the quest, because I want the Royal Crossbow. I needed the Coral Crossbow by talking to the NPC outside the Rotworm lair, then getting the 4 crossbow pieces, then talking to this Thurgo guy, he'll fix it into an unfinished crossbow, and to make the bow, you need to get to the 4th phase of QB and get the QB to breathe super fire breath on it. So Born for PVM actually made a guide on this a while ago, and I'll put it in the link in the description because this is a really good weapon to get, and since there are already bots for QD, it shouldn't even be that pricey to get. So now the reason behind this is because the Royal Crossbow is a level 80 crossbow, and in the EOC, since all items have the same damage if they're like the same level, then they should have the same DPS with abilities, which it does, and since a Zaribo is level 80, and a Royal Crossbow is level 80, the Royal Crossbow is a cheaper version of the Zaribo and does exactly the same damage with abilities. And not much people actually notice. It's a lot cheaper than a Zaribo. The only difference is one is bolts, one is arrows, but even that difference isn't really that big. Like maybe for some bosses it offers maybe 5-10% accuracy, but that's it. So at the moment, dual wielding is still broken, so a chaotic crossbow compared to a royal crossbow, there is no comparison. The royal crossbow is better in almost every single way because the royal crossbow has damage on the weapon itself, and then it takes account of what bolts you have, so it works properly. Whereas a chaotic crossbow, all it does is take powers from the bolts, and there's no damage on the weapon itself, so it's underpowered. So if you have 80 range, I would highly suggest buying a Royal Crossbow and getting to the 4th phase of the QBD while it's easy, because it's not buffed yet. It's still easy as heck to get to the end where you need the super fire breath, and it's a cheaper version of the Zarya bow, so why wouldn't you get it? It's also very, like, since it's bolts, it's also very good against water fiends because water fiends are weak to bolts, and you can get about 300 charms per hour doing that. I covered that later in the episode. After getting my Royal Crossbow, this was around the time of December with the whole festive aura thing. Having gotten a lot of charms from doing Tormented Demons earlier, and having heard of the festive aura in the behind the scenes, I decided to use the bonus XP on summoning, of course, and I'm already pretty high summoning-ish. I'll have an up-to-date check on my bank standing on how much I'm worth in the next episode to see how much money summoning has drained my bank from the double XP weekend and what I'm about to spend on the festive aura week. So the weird thing is, basically nowadays, Jagex is just handing out XP. Now, I read a forum post somewhere where it basically had the message of something along the lines of, you might just be doing this to make your end game goals more accessible, like just to bridge the gap between veterans and your everyday average player. So a few years ago, max 99 stats and dungeoneering would have meant a lot because of the amount of time and dedication it took. And with those stats features unlocked, they got a huge advantage over just a casual player. For example, a veteran player would have like a rapier and turmoil. A casual player would have a whip or godsword and piety. If it was PvP or PvM, there would be pretty much no contest. It was clear that the person with the better gear would win the 80 dungeoneering, the 95 prayer. And if the casual player would want to compete against that, it would take hours on hours. For some, this isn't much, but starting out, it's kind of difficult to dedicate that much time to just grinding out a skill or making enough to actually buy the skill. So I'm not too disappointed about Jagex handing out XP anymore, but this does devalue the skill for anybody who has gotten like 200 mil already. So anybody who got 200 summoning before the double bonus summoning XP weekend basically got a slap in the face when Jagex announced that the double XP weekend will work on summoning again. So this is disheartening to see, but in my opinion, Jagex is, I guess they're just trying to bridge the gap between veteran players and your casual everyday player, just to keep people continually interested in the game. So that's kind of like my brief thought on it. I may expand more that, like, I might actually, if it's a broad enough topic, I might make a whole video on it, but I'd love to know your opinions on this whole giving out XP thing, not to mention like selling XP is just, that's a whole nother topic. So a while ago I made a video saying that there might be a double loot weekend, and it happened. So I finally finished making my first crystal key on this account. I waited till the second day where people weren't just waiting in line to use their darts, or was that when it first came out? Maybe I'm thinking of a different day. But so I plan to use my darts. I would have used them anyway. I don't really agree with the idea of being able to one hit a level 1001 monster. Seems kind of dirty, but since it's out, may as well use it. So this goes back to what I was saying in the previous clip, where it's just making, like, bridging the gap between veteran players and your average casual everyday player. So, I mean, Nexus is pretty good because it's like a 1 in 20 to 30 chance that you're going to get an actual Nex item. So that's actually pretty good odds. So a thing about my channel is that I started out with like Nex solos back in the original Nex solo spot by like the landslide. Now that was fun for me at the time, messing around with Nex to see how she reacts in certain situations, because Nex is basically, well, pretty much everything PVM is basically a computer program made to react a certain way in a certain environment. So by figuring that out, you can manipulate her movement, which led to the solo spots, and since then they've tried so many patches, it's so many times, but they just can't get it right. But with RuneScape being, like, RuneScape is restricted to squares for movement. It's like one square, and you can't even move in between it. So that really limits how far the game can go, but it also keeps it simple. And with the room being pretty cramped up in the next room, and Nex being a 3x3 monster on release, it was just too easy to find safe spots to exploit. And now it's been like, this went on for like over a year, and since then, Nex prices have dropped considerable amount. I I still remember my first Pernix body on my main account where I got a Pernix body trio and we split it like 500 mil, and that was like unbelievable at the time. And that's what I loved about PVM was the fact that when a new boss come out, it was incredible how much money you can make from it. But nowadays, showing wealth doesn't mean as much as it used to. Something that I really severely dislike is how certain players exploit other players by these high value items such as dicers, scammers, lures. Now this, in my opinion, it just takes the achievement out of having a next set or party hat when people like them have it. Like back when I was a much lower level than I am now, when I saw somebody with a party hat, I thought that they must have worked really hard for that party hat, or were just around long enough that they were there in the beginning. But now, if I see somebody with a party hat nowadays in World 2G, I honestly have no idea if it's got to through legit or shady money making methods, which is why most of the time I'm on RS now. Usually I never wear anything fancy, or I just wear whatever was the last thing I wore. So it's a shame now that next is, well, for me, it used to be really hard. Like, for me to be able to next, it took hours on hours from working up from using Void initially to Pernix on my main. But to have everybody just like get 4 darts that one hit her and get a loot, I don't know. But I guess this is just back to bridging the gap between veterans and casual everyday players, which is good for the most part. I got to do it years ago, people could do it now. After my double loot and next with the darts, the majority of my weekend I spent nexting on my main because, well, I made that double loot video, but I did take advantage of the double loot on my Nills to Bills account, so at the time, double loot was not restricted to only bosses. It included the Chaos Tunnel as well, and in the Chaos Tunnel are water. So I have no idea what familiar was good at the time, so I didn't bring an Iron Titan. So I just brought a Geyser Titan, and water fiends are weak to bolts. So with the Royal Crossbow I got earlier in the episode, I went and killed water fiends. And I also used the triple charms I got from familiarization. By the end of it, in the 40 minutes of triple charms and double loot from the double loot, which stacks with the triple charms, so that's like 6 times the normal charms, which stacks. So I got about 1.1k charms by the end in that 40 minutes. And I didn't only do it once, I did it twice because I had one saved up from earlier, just because I was kind of too lazy a couple weeks ago to just do it. And yeah, I did it again, got another 1.1k charms, which would really help for the festive aura that I was going to use. Then this clip here, like it's been a while since, it's been probably a couple months, or when was this? This was done over a month ago. So everything's not exactly in chronological order, but this was recorded during W weekend, and it was like either one of the times where it was either at the end where I only had like a couple minutes left, or it was during when I didn't have any teams to go around with. So this was just a couple clips of me at barrows, and basically, no, this has to be the one where there's only like 3 minutes left at next when I was doing it on my main, and so it wasn't long enough for a kill. So instead of trying for another kill just for 1 drop, we decided to call it a day, and I went to barrows and I actually got some. So from about the 1 to 2 hours total of barrows I did throughout the weekend, I made about 5 mil from just that last lucky chest. Really helped. It's probably a bit less with the runes because they're not worth as much anymore, since if you use abilities, you don't actually use the runes, which is kind of weird, but it's a free way to train magic. So this clip actually here, I actually get a double drop. Like, I got a double drop with, because it's actually possible to get 2 drops in 1 chest. I got a Varrock Flail and a Varrock Helm, and because it's double weekend, I got 2 of each. So this made it like the best way to possibly end the double loot weekend, because there's only like 30 something seconds left. During this time, there was also a price discount on auras, so I bought some auras. Not a lot, because I didn't actually start membership when the loyalty program was out. It was, actually I forgot when I did start this membership. Anyway, so I think it's a lot of auras on my main though, but on discount I got at least I got the good ones. Dependence, Reverence, Vampirism are pretty much the 3 important ones I could think of. Sharpshooter probably wasn't a good decision at the time, but I had to make a quick decision because I forgot that there was a discount going on and it was going to get discontinued on the day of the bonus double loot weekend thing. Another day went on, I used my festive aura that gave like 50k bonus XP, which isn't that bad. I think they did this more properly because it's limited to only 50k XP in 30 minutes, and it's only 50k XP boost for 50% bonus XP. So for the full benefit, if you want the full 50k XP, you need to do something that's 200k XP per hour, which there isn't many skills that are that fast XP per hour. There's a few, but it's not every single skill. But it's a good thing summoning is a quick skill and allowed me to get even closer to that pack at 96. I also got 94 summoning when doing this. I don't recall if I made this point in the video earlier, but this XP, all this XP in my opinion, is just trying to make it so that it get whatever your goal is, I don't know, it completely devalues the skill, but if you still have like a XP goal or something, like for me I have summoning, you might as well use it. And on my main, I'm kind of disappointed that it's not as a big an achievement anymore for a comp cape or a particular skill as it was when I got it, but on this account, my Nills account, I'm glad the XP is here. It makes summoning so much easier, like that Sizzling Summer. Okay, honestly, Sizzling Summer, 1,000,000 XP, that's too much, but oh well, it happens. And it really helped for me leveling up summoning, even though charm collecting in EOC is like a lot easier than pre-EOC. It's like 300 charms per hour, and that's doing water fiends where you actually make some profit. Not a lot, it's like 250k profit per hour, but it's still profit and it's decent charm and not that hard as long as you have 80 ring. But yeah, I also got 94 summoning, so just 2 more levels to go. While at the clan citadel, that like the clan I'm in, the Runescape clan, we unlocked the loom. Well, we upgraded to loom, which is a crafting plot, but it's about 80 to 130k crafting XP per hour. Might not be as it's like twice as slow as battle staff, but it's completely free. So I don't have the money to buy battle staffs. Well, I have some, but not a lot to invest completely. So this is pretty good XP per hour. You get about I'm getting like 200k XP per week doing this, and it's free. Another one of those winter weekends came around, and this is the one that actually did not suck. The last one of the month sucked, but there were double minigame rewards, so I spent a good amount of my time here on my Nills account gathering Void. I actually forgot to do it on my main, so it still only has one Void set. But on this account, I spent quite a lot of time here, and I ended up getting like 3 sets of the normal Void. I haven't done the quest for the elite Void, so I have like 500 points saved up, but that's only enough for like 1 elite Void set. But the thing I like about the Void set, and the reason I'm getting it, is it's kind of like a niche in the armor sets where it's the best offense, but it's not the best defense. So if you wanted to go for DPS, you would bring Void. If you wanted to go defensively, you would bring armor, like maybe certain bosses. But like, since you can provoke monsters in the EOC, you pretty much don't even need armor as long as you have a tank. And if you're not tanking, then you might as well be in Void. So I also don't have the deflector because I couldn't find anybody that could help me get my rank up, because you need like 1250 rank for the deflector. Oh wait, I haven't even done the quest. Or do you need a quest? No, I don't think you need a quest. But I do have a decent amount of Void sets now. I kind of wish I remembered to do it on my main because it still only has 1 set, so there's no bank spacer for it. As you may notice, I've been talking over the fight kiln clips. That's because I actually did a lot of the fight kiln since the last episode. I did about it 8 times, so I have 8 onyxes. I might not have it show in this video, but it's on my A log. And I don't know, it's like I would have to log in and take a picture, put it in here, but basically I got 8 onyxes while doing this. And the reason I was doing the fight kiln was because in the EOC it kind of cut out. It made my fight kiln guide that was pre-EOC outdated, so I wanted to redo it again. So I did it about 8 times before I got a clean clip where I got it all the way through. Nothing messed up. I did everything perfect, and it was easy to show what exactly to do in which situation. But then they announced that they were going to nerf the rejuvenate ability, which was kind of what my strategy was focusing around, because when it was 1 minute cooldown, you could do the entire fight count without any prayer, without any food, without any familiar, and it was all doable. It may take like 2.5 hours like before, but it was doable. And that one update just killed my fight count guide. I have to wait for them to implement the update, then I have to go try it again when I have time, and then I gotta voice over the entire guide again. But the upside of it, I got 8 onyxes out of it. It wasn't a total loss. So I made 8 onyxes this episode on top of the just about like 5 mil in barrows. I won't be counting the dragon claws in this episode. It's counting in the next episode because I didn't sell it until the next episode. So I'm just gonna cut it short here because I've been talking on for quite a while. But I'll start on the next episode. Hopefully it's out. Hopefully it's out within the next 2 weeks, not like 4 weeks. So thank you very much for watching and have a nice day.